All right, guys, I realize it's been a minute since I've even posted here on YouTube, and I've largely kept my videos about finance and real estate and mostly credit. Credit is my most popular videos, but I realized a long time ago, and this might actually be why I hadn't been posting as much, is that I want to talk about more, and I'm not really afraid to do that anymore. Something big happened this month. It's been about 3 weeks since Charlie Kirk was assassinated. So the important part here, I think people forget, is that, this was not just political. And I talked to people I know who live in the secular world. They're just kind of in their own bubble. And so they're really having a hard time understanding how big of a deal this was, and that it's not just a political assassination. So you haven't already heard, but you probably have, honestly. Charlie Kirk, a political activist and YouTuber, commentator, whatever you want to call him, he was assassinated in front of a live audience of about 5,000 people at a university in Utah. Since that happened, actually, almost immediately, if you were on the internet, you knew it happened within about 5 to 10 minutes because you just had that video pushed on you. You didn't even know what you were watching before you saw it, and it really sucks because I think a lot of people would have chosen not to see that. But what was the most shocking was I came out and I addressed that to people I know, and they were like, well, who is that? I don't know who that is. And then within 30 minutes, they decided that they made up their mind about who this man was and why he was such a bad guy, and basically were justifying that he should have been killed. Or just I don't feel sorry for him at all. That kind of attitude. And while the actual assassination was horrific and it's unjustified and shouldn't have been done, people like me, I would like to think good people, I would like to have thought that it was all Americans, but this is not the case. We're shocked at the response of not just online bots and trolls, but people that we actually know in real life, justifying, oh, well, he was a bad guy. He supported this and this. He said that and that, so I don't feel sorry for him. That is absolutely nuts. So apart from the justification, we also had people that we actually know, again, not just fake bots and trolls online, a significant number of people in our nation, worldwide, and even people that we personally know, celebrating, laughing, disgusting, laughing, making jokes about this man being shot and killed in cold blood. It's the most disgusting, most horrific, and honestly the scariest thing I've ever seen in my life. The level of evil that I've seen come out of these people. I know there's evil out there. I know there's murderers. I know that there's bad people that do bad things. But the evil I saw from people I've known since I was a child, people I thought I could trust, people I thought were good people, showed me who they really were, and they were none of those things. And that is the scariest thing in the whole world to me, because people like that are capable of anything if they feel like they can justify it. Now, I've gotten off track a little bit, but I needed to stress how bad that was, because that led to a severe realization for a lot of people like me. I grew up in a Christian household, and I went to a Christian church. Like many, I'm sure this is the case, I grew up in a secular society, and I lived in a worldly way, and I just went along for the ride, and I definitely had that rebellious stage in my life. And well, I knew that I grew up with a Christian upbringing. I didn't really identify as a Christian, and I wasn't really sure about what I really believed. And I just kind of lived like everybody else. I just lived in my own little bubble thinking, oh, everybody has got good morals. We all have this natural foundation of right and wrong, whether you're Christian or not, or Jewish or not. We generally agree on the 10 Commandments because that's just what we do in our society. Boy, was I wrong about that. So when we saw the evil that came out of all the people that we thought we knew, people that we loved, people that we thought we could trust, it became abundantly clear to me that I was wrong, and that they were right. that the spiritual war is real. And it was never more clear to me. It's very emotional. When you talk about religion and coming to it, and it's such a personal thing. But it was shocking as somebody who had rebelled and was just like, I don't know. It was just glaringly shocking. And so that led through a huge emotional process. I now can't trust almost anybody. The very few people I know I can trust, my family, just a few of my friends, but the vast majority of people I cannot trust anymore after this. So that's huge. I feel utter sorrow for these people because they have to be filled with so much hate and pain, and how anybody could live with that, it must be awful. This definitely, I was already at the time kind of rediscovering my faith a little bit, but I hadn't fully committed. But this, I would say, definitely pushed me over the edge. And I imagine that's the case for millions of people. Because it was not the shooting of Charlie Kirk. It was the reaction from the people after that so clearly announced the spiritual war is real. And like other people, I was also dealing with anger. So all of this is hitting me at the same time. The spiritual war is real. I can't trust people. These people are not really my friends. These people would have me and my family killed and celebrate about it because we were Christians. So much going on at the same time. And anger that they could kill such a good man. And you know what, you can disagree with him all you want, but I've actually never seen anybody live the life the way he did. He was a good man, and he was a true believer of God, which is part of what makes him so different. Like I said, I had grown up going to church. My parents try as they might to be a believer and have true faith. And even though I rebelled, I grew up, and I know what the faith requires. I know what's in the book. I know how these people would live their life, and nobody's perfect. Nobody. But I've never seen anybody so fearless, so sure, so devoted to God and living the life that God would want him to than Charlie Kirk. His number one goal, again, people are so confused about this. They still think it's all about politics. Oh, he was a Republican. Everything he did was because of his belief in God. Yes, that converted into politics, but that's because he thought he was truly fighting the spiritual war, and that the only way to fight this spiritual war and win was to get to the youth, which is why he went and talked about colleges. He actually says as much in one of the interviews that I've seen. And so his number one goal, it wasn't to get Trump elected. It wasn't to turn states red. His number one goal was always to evangelize the youth, to save the country, to save their souls. And like I mentioned before, he did really believe that politics was reflective of the spiritual war itself, which from a biblical standpoint, I can 100% see that. And as I said, after these events, I was pushed over the edge, and I 100% agree at this point. This assassination, it really, it changes everything. People didn't like that. I lost friends before I even tried to defend Charlie Kirk and say that just what you would think would be natural, right? Universal condemnation of assassination. You think that would be not a problem. But I lost 2 friends immediately before I had even actually been specific about condemning the assassination. And I was just like, wow, that's what you're going to unfriend me over. You're going to unfriend me because I said this changes everything. People didn't believe me. But over the coming days and weeks, I think they finally got it. I don't actually like being right about this stuff because I know how intense it can be. But yeah, it changed everything. The truth was revealed when leftists celebrated the assassination of an innocent man. The truth was revealed with the hate in their hearts and that the spiritual war was real. How that translates into politics is that the independents The leftists just lost an insane amount of independents. It's not even funny. You don't win a presidential election without independence. So there's just that in and of itself. What they don't realize is that they really revealed their cards and they really overplayed their hand this time. Not just the left, but even if you believe in a spiritual war, then yeah, the devil overplayed his hand big time. People who were not full believers even saw it. People know that they need to fight it now. And so that's going to translate into insane amounts of people speaking out. People that were too afraid to speak before. They don't actually, this is what happened to me. The second that happened, I was always too afraid. I was afraid from peer pressure because I grow up in a very I'm in a very blue state, in a very blue county. And I've identified as independent politically for about 10 years. But as things have gotten crazier and crazier and crazier politically, I find myself moving from center to center right, because I keep getting pushed more and more with my rights being totally trampled on and then being gaslit about my rights being trampled on. But that's neither here nor there right now. So what's happening is that people are going to speak out and they realize you can't argue, you can't debate with people that joyously celebrate assassination, that want to kill people who believe what Charlie believed. And make no mistake, Charlie was moderate. He was a moderate Republican. He believed the same thing that Republicans believed 30 years ago, but he actually wanted people to be left alone more so than the Republicans from 30 years ago. So I'm not going to get into much more detail than that, but he was a moderate Republican and he was a super nice guy. But he understood that you need to change hearts and minds to change the world. We also, by the way, I wanted to mention, we also saw a reaction to Erika Kirk's speech, which I watched that whole thing. I was bawling the whole time because I knew what she believes. I know what she believes. I knew this is the hardest thing that she's probably ever gone through in her life. I'm going to start crying right now. But you see the reaction when she says, I forgive him. And that was so powerful. And the people, they make fun of her. What she did takes an immense amount of strength that these people will have never had to experience in their whole life. They don't even know how strong this woman is. And she could only do it because of her faith in God. Before that, she also had, I was 2 or 3 days after the assassination, before the memorial, she did a live stream from Charlie's office. And she was talking about the spiritual war. And then she said, you have no idea what you've unleashed. That's what she said. And then I see, again, people that I've known my whole life. They're taking it as a threat. Yes, Erika Kirk uses words like battle and war and things like that. But when a Christian is using those words, they are not using them in the normal sense. She's referring to the spiritual battle, which means she is going to do everything in her power to change hearts and minds, and Christians are going to attempt to convert more than they ever have. And they're not going to be afraid to speak out, because when someone is so evil, when someone does something so evil, remember the peer pressure I talked about? You don't care about peer pressure anymore, because when someone is so evil, their opinion no longer matters. So that's what we're seeing right now. We're only on week 3, and I have seen more people wearing, and again, I'm in a very liberal state, very blue state, very blue county. I am seeing more people wearing red hats. I'm seeing more people, more than anything, wearing crosses. I am seeing more and more and more people attending church. The church I went to just added a new service right before Charlie was killed. So they've been filling up there. And more than anything, People are not afraid to talk about God anymore. People I've known for 3 years that have never uttered a word about it. We are actually openly talking about it. We're inviting people to church. We're inviting them to other Bible studies and programs to learn about God and the Bible. So yeah, they have no idea what they unleashed. They made them not fearful anymore because they announced to every Christian in the nation that the spiritual war is real and it is at your doorstep. Wake up. That is what happened. And so we're going to see a huge effort of evangelization over the next few years because of this. A lot of the normie Christians that don't actually evangelize, that usually keep silent, that were afraid, don't feel afraid anymore. I've mentioned that. But they don't care about the risks. They don't care. Unfriend me. You know what? I would much rather you, if you care that much that I am not okay with the assassination of an innocent man, and you cannot be my friend over then unfriend me. But if there was any way to keep those people so that they can see what it means to live a good, honest, truthful life, to be a good person, I and I hope everyone else would strive to show them, to try to direct them onto a path of light instead of darkness. Because this is just absolutely, absolutely horrific that people could ever 20 years ago, this would have never happened. We are living in a whole new world. This really was the line in the sand. So people don't care. People are going to be willing to lose their jobs. People are going to be willing to lose friendships. It's going to happen because this is not okay. And what we will see, why this changes everything, the part that people didn't really like, is that when people are converted, when their beliefs are swayed or changed, that is going to be reflected in politics. We are going to see more conversions to the right. We already have been seeing a trend in the youth. And so we're going to see that happen in our nation, which I have never actually seen in my lifetime. So this is going to be very interesting. But so long as the evangelizations continue, it's just going to get more conservative. And I'd be lying if I told you I wasn't happy about it, because I really hope that they're successful. Because like I said, the amount of evil I've seen in the last 3 weeks is the scariest thing I've ever seen in my life. And the people who are trying to lead people to God are trying to make the world a better place. They're not trying to control you. They're not trying to do any of that. They're trying to make the world a better place, and they're trying to help you live in a way that can lead you to heaven. So yeah, that's pretty much my whole point. Charlie Kirk's assassination was not just political. It was first and foremost religious, and believers have reacted in that way. I'm so happy to see the good that people have in their hearts, but I am frightened at the battle that we're actually fighting with the hatred in people's hearts. I hope that I can end this by letting you know that if you're not sure, or if you're curious, or if you've been too afraid to attend a church, it's not scary. The people there, they're gonna be nice, and you just walk right in. You don't have to register. You can just sit for the service and listen. People are gonna smile. They're gonna say hi. They might introduce themselves, and they'll be so happy you're there. So I hope that you'll find a Bible-believing church in your area, and I hope it'll change your life. Well, that's it for now. I will see you guys next time.